Pujari. So Pujari, last time what we had talked was that everybody wants to reach one's destination, and there are many ifs and buts. What happens is during the period when you want to reach the destination, you are passionate enough, but many times life flows on, and you have to also flow with life. Now, I was reading in your book. It is written. You're talking about some Dragon Gate, and you have emphasized a full chapter on this. Basically, what do you mean by Dragon Gate?
So the Dragon Gate is a waterfall in China, and it's a Japanese folk tale, which I've adapted from the major writings of Nichiren Daishonin. He talks about carp. Carp is the freshwater fish,
right?
And they are at the bottom of the waterfall, and it's 100 feet climb to the top of the waterfall. And their mission, their goal, their desire is to reach the top of the waterfall.
Right.
When they reach the top of the waterfall, they turn into dragons, and then they control the clouds and the rain. Like I said, it's a Japanese folk tale. So, but it's much easier said than done. They're frail, they're weak, and the force of the water is tremendous.
Right.
And then there are there are big birds sweeping down, which want to have them as food.
Right.
And a lot of them die in the process, but still there are others watching their friend carp die. They're still attempting to do it. So there's so much passion that I've got to become this dragon. I've got to be able to control the rain and the clouds, and I've got to make that difference. So that's what that story is about.
Okay. And when you talk about CARP, we also have an organization called CARP, which stands for Canadian Association for Rejuvenated People. And this organization advocates for the seniors, their interests and whatever the issues are that are brought at the national level. Nevertheless, so coming back to the issue of the Dragon Gate, when you say that the passion is so much, it is evident, and they're trying their best. But what happens is, again, though one tries one's best, many times you don't reach your destination, and then you start berating yourself, then you start talking about your destiny, that I was not destined for this, and then you start cursing your destiny, and all this thing happens. So if you are in this kind of situation, how to deal with it?
Again, it's inner. It's all about an inner attitudinal change. And I think sometimes we become our own greatest enemies because we lose faith in ourselves.
Right.
If we lose faith in ourselves, I don't know how we can expect anybody else to have faith and keep rooting for us.
Right.
So it's important for us to truly believe in our capabilities, because each of us has infinite potential, and that's the truth. We are all capable of much greater things than we even imagine.
Right.
It's just that we don't allow ourselves to get there.
Right.
We disbelieve in our own selves, in our strengths.
Here I would like to focus on our youth, because what we are finding in the world today, the way individualism is increasing, and way we are raising our children, and way we are seeing our youth today, one gets disheartened also many times, because though there has been a generation gap always, but now what we find out is that our children want their way or the highway kind of thing approach, which is coming forward. So from this Dragon's Gate thing, what message can be given to the youth that they get committed to what they want to do, and they don't astray from their own path, what they want to establish?
I also think that besides wanting their own way or the that
highway,
yes, they also in a lot of hurry to get everywhere.
Right.
Everything's got to happen instantaneously for them. So I think the message for them is to figure out what it is that matters most to you. And sometimes they miss the woods for the trees. It's good to have friends, it's good to hang out, but what is your ultimate goal in life? If you're a student, then you want to be studying really hard and making that the focal point, because that's what is going to help you achieve your to get to your final destination.
Right.
The other thing is, it's important to have youth with high self-esteem. And that's where we as parents play a role.
Right.
Because if our kids have high self-esteem, then even when they go out in the world and they have friends who are trying to tell them, you know, it's cool to do drugs, it's cool to smoke, it's cool to drink, they will not be influenced because they have such a high self-esteem.
Right.
And that's our gift to our kids. It's imperative that they have that high self-esteem, then they will not worry.
Right.
If they will not go out of their way to make friends, because that's where it arises, right? They want to make friends, they want to please them, so they do all kinds of things.
And also with this, Pujari, many times self-esteem gets associated with materialistic brands, what we are finding.
Yes.
Now, how to increase their self-esteem? You said it's the job of the parents, role modeling is required. But for the youth today, you know, they are scattered too much, and the way technology has come, they're so busy in themselves only. So when we talk about self-esteem, if you could elaborate on this and tell us that what should be the strengths for having a high self-esteem?
Belief in oneself.
Okay.
I am perfect as I am. I don't really need to wear this branded t-shirt or buy a $200 pair of jeans to prove to the world how great I am.
Right.
I am perfect. And I think that's what the youth needs to remember, because they are truly perfect. They don't need to do any of that to get attention.
Right.
They don't need to do anything to please anybody. They've got to be true to themselves.
Right.
And that's critical.
Another thing what we hear many times is about surrender to the universe. Let life flow through you. And this is a very major saying. Many religions talk about it, and there are many things in which people also say, well, when things are going our way, then of course I am the one who has done it. But when things don't go my way, then I start saying, oh yes, we should just surrender to the universe. So when we talk about surrender to the universe, could you elaborate on this and tell us that what actually does this mean? Because another view which comes when we talk about surrendering to the universe is that if we surrender to the universe, then nothing will happen. The life will just stop. There will be no progress. Could you elaborate on this?
Yes. I think each of us, we kind of have a soul contract, S-O-U-L, contract. So before we came down to this planet, we made a deal with our Creator. This is what I'm going to do in this lifetime, because life is eternal.
Right.
This is the body I have now. Next lifetime, it'll be another body in another place with another set of family members. So we all have these soul contracts that we make. And each of us has been given a gift to achieve that contract. Right. So whether it's a writing or painting, each of us has a gift that's been given. So now we collaborate, we're going to come down and we're going to fulfill that unique purpose that you and I have. And while we do other things, I may have a job, I have 2 kids, everything else that we do are just a means to fulfill that ultimate goal.
Okay.
Right? But we don't remember, we come down, we are reborn, we totally forget that soul contract, and we get busy, we get sucked into things. And the universe keeps trying to deliver it because the universe remembers. You and I have a soul contract, but we keep getting in the way of the universe because we are not open to those messages that we receive. And we keep going our own busy way and totally ignoring these messages.
Right, but what you are saying, isn't it contradictory to what we have discussed so far, that set a goals, you should do this, you should do that. So when we say surrender to the universe, if life is to flow through us, then what is the need of setting up goals and missions and all that? What's the purpose then?
It does seem contradictory, but both have the perfect place in our lives, depending on what circumstance it is and where we are. Both are completely true. I'd like to share a little story. So when we immigrated to Canada 2006, and the process we started talking about in, I think, 1997.
Okay.
And I kept resisting and resisting. I didn't want to do it. Finally, in 2001, we made our application. That's also the year 9/11 happened. So the whole process changed. And finally, we landed here in 2006. So it took 5 years. We didn't even have, I didn't have my daughter when we applied, and when we came here, she was 5 years, right? So there was a lot of resistance that I put up. I just didn't want to come. But now when I look back, I think in these past 8 years, I have accomplished far more than I would have another 25 years in India. But I was getting in the way of the universe constantly. I think the universe knew I needed to be here to accomplish what I had to. I wasn't allowing it.
So our small thoughts, our small thinking is an impediment to the bigger picture, and we should just accept as things are happening. That's what you're saying?
Not always. I'm saying both are true in different circumstances of life. Now, having come here, now it's time for me to take action. The universe has now played its role. Now it's my turn. And then again, it may be the universe's turn. So I take a set of actions, and then sometimes I just have to wait, be patient, and wait for my next message. If I'm constantly doing things, running, taking action, I'm not going to be able to hear those messages.
Okay. I would like to discuss more in details next week. We'll just touch this topic again, because it's a very important topic. While it seems to be contradictory, it is not. So next week we'll discuss in details about how you can cope up with this kind of a particular thought, which your mind and your heart, when they're not collaborating together, and then it creates problems for you. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.